What is Kendrick Perkins doing, man? He has never voted for Nikola Jokic for MVP. He's never saying that the guy's the best player in the league. He recently said that LeBron James at age 40 is better than Jokic. What is Kendrick Perkins smoking?
He's just a racist. I mean, he when you put that out there, and it's only because Jokic is white. I went to go see Jokic about a month ago, and I never seen anything like it, Ricky. I'm not lying. I've seen a lot of basketball in my time. I've seen a lot of great players, coached a couple National Players of the Year, a bunch of NBA guys. I never seen nothing like Jokic. I had 19 assists the day I was there, and it looked like he didn't break a sweat. And, Kendrick Perkins just simply a racist. Kendrick Perkins, and there's a number of ex-NBA players that are in media and podcasting that feel like we got to get the white guy out of there. We got to get Europeans out of there. Europeans coming in are bad for the league, when in fact Europeans coming in there are great for the league. White, black, I don't give a damn. If you are a media member, you have an obligation to pick the best player for MVP. And certainly, like he did a few years ago, every white dude, here's the way the NBA media goes, Ricky. And I've been told this by numerous NBA people. White dudes in the NBA media are scared to death to be called out, to be called racist. Obviously, 70% of the league is black. A lot of coaches, a lot of GMs, all that stuff. Scared to death. And the African-American media, they want to be part of the scene. They know that rappers are involved. You see Stephen A. Smith walk on the court like he's some actual player, or some actual dude. He's a freaking media guy. What? So that's the background of the NBA media right now. Brian Windhorst actually talked about the softness of the NBA media, and that's just where we're at. And Perkins, as a former player, decent player, whatever, can't stand that white folk, but what Barkley say, like, it's amazing the two best players in the NBA are fat white guys. Oh, that was a great comment. I think Barkley said it. I thought that was awesome. It's funny. You know what? Who cares whether you're white or black? Just be honest.
Jokic is so good. How could you tell me? He's probably, in my opinion, been the real MVP of the league 5 years in a row this year. You can make an argument for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I know that there's a good one for him. If he wins it, it won't be the greatest miscarriage of justice that there's ever been by any means. Reasonable people can disagree. But you tell me how a guy like Perkins can never back Jokic. Not once, not one time in the last 5 years has he thought he was the best player in the league. Come on,
It's just racism. It's just racism. That's all it is. And when you throw that card out,
indefensible.
You throw it out. It is. There's nothing else. I mean, there's no way you can look at the game if you played or if you coached or if you covered it. There's no way you can say, look, you want to make Shai Gilgeous-Alexander this year? Fine, but don't go telling voters that you're racist if you vote for Jokic. That's exactly what Perkins did, and I don't know how he survived. Well, I know how he survived at ESPN. Someone like me or Seth Greenberg, who's there, Fran Fraschilla, they'd be fired yesterday if they did something like that. It's just more bullshit from the worldwide leader.
Jokic is averaging 29, 13, and 10 while shooting 44% as a center from behind the three-point line. I don't get it. Charles Barkley is taking issue with Kendrick Perkins. Let's take a look at what Chuck has had to say here, talking about the dummies at ESPN. First of all, listen, don't bring up a guy who averaged 5 points a game. I'm not going to stoop to his level. You average 5 points a game. Shut the hell up, says Charles Barkley to Kendrick Perkins. You're actually being a little more kind to Kendrick's resume than Chuck, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, look, Barkley's, and then it became a whole back and forth, right? They say, Stephen A. Smith had to chime in, but Stephen A. Smith's intimidated because he can't intimidate Barkley or Kenny Smith or Shaq. It's kind of funny, and I don't think this is made up. I don't think this is WWE-like. I think Barkley legitimately feels like the folks over at ESPN are dumb. He doesn't want to go there. He's got to go there. That's where the show's going. I think he'll understand, at least, externally. He won't be involved. When you're at ESPN, they call it playing the hits. You got to play the hits. So you got to talk about the Lakers. You got to talk about the Knicks. You got to talk about LeBron. Those are the hits. In football, you got to talk about Aaron Rodgers. Hell, today, big screen. Aaron Rodgers, where's he going? Used to be Favre, always the Cowboys. You got to play the hits there. And if you are an NBA fan and you're truly going to cover the league, well, I got to tell you, you got to do a lot of covering of Jokic. Yes, Gilgeous-Alexander, no question. They've been the team of the West, but you also got to cover the Cleveland Cavaliers, and you got to do it pretty strong. I mean, what, are they going for 15 wins in a row now, second time this year? So, no, I think Barkley sees the hypocrisy, but once you get to ESPN, they make it clear, maybe not in pregame and postgame shows, but on ESPN radio, on TV, Sports Center, on their talk shows, Get Up and those. You got to play the hits, man, and that's in the NBA. That's the Lakers, and that's LeBron.
All right, so we've got Barkley and Kendrick Perkins. We've got LeBron and Stephen A. going at it over Bronny, among other things. And now we got Skip Bayless and Kevin Durant, the feud that nobody asked for, apparently. Skip, what is it with the NBA and the soap opera element of it? Is it just the fact that guys like Bayless and Perkins and Stephen A. are just always there to stir the pot? We have a lot of feuds in the NBA. More interesting than the on-court product is the problem, Dan.
We also got Isaiah and Jordan, old school. We got Isaiah still going at Jordan because he got left off the dream team. Look, I don't get it. I really don't. One thing about Kevin Durant, he's a little bit thin-skinned, but I never feel bad or I never call somebody out for coming back at critics. A lot of us are built that way. A lot of us, that's just who we are. I mean, I'm not saying that it's the greatest trait that I have, but it's not the worst. And, Kevin Durant pays attention, so then he will fire back. Look, the whole LeBron thing going after Stephen A. Smith over his son, I got no problem with. Look, I say this, Ricky, if you are going to criticize somebody, whether it's in the street, in the media, and you're going to do it personally, I'm always for that person for punching the critic out. Like, I would have had no problem if LeBron James had punched Stephen A. Smith. None whatsoever. If you're going to sit behind a mic and get personal with somebody, you know what? Don't go back to Twitter, and I'm talking about LeBron here. Don't go to Twitter or your show. You see the guy, you address it. And I love what LeBron did. In terms of this Skip Bayless stuff, this is what Bayless does. And you know what? Somehow, some way, these guys, whether it's Bayless or Stephen A. Smith or Ryan Clark, they feel like they are the conscience of sports, when in fact, they're just guys talking. But Kevin Durant, we've known he's gotten, burner accounts before. He's been caught with all that. He's sensitive to it. But I don't have any problem with guys firing back. And I'm sure in the case of Stephen A. and LeBron, and I'm sure in the case of Bayless and Durant, they kind of dig it. Gives them more clout.
All right, Dan, let's pivot back to the NCAA here. I don't know if you saw this. Brian Baroni from SIU Edwardsville, after they won, I suppose it's the OVC that they won. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dan. Western Kentucky was in the OVC 1,000 years ago when I was growing up. There he has the scissors that he's been keeping in a case for 6 years that they have hanging above the door in their locker room, finally breaking them out this weekend to cut down the nets. That's kind of fucking cool, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's really cool, man. And I know Brian. Brian's dad, Tony, was one of the real characters in college basketball. Brian was at Indiana working for Tom Crean. He's just a really good dude. And he goes to a school, SIU Edwardsville is down by St. Louis, and it entered Division I, I don't know, 10 years ago, whatever it's been, and here he takes it over. Next thing you know, they're in the tournament. So, I forget what that sign was in Ted Lasso that was above the coach's door. But you know what? As a coach, man, you do whatever you can. Ricky, this is no kidding. 1 year, I thought we should have been better. We were struggling. I made everybody in our program wear their clothes backwards. Pants backwards, shirt backwards. I came into the game and I wore my sport coat backwards. Not inside out, backwards. And we won 6 games in a row and kind of saved our season. So as a coach, you'll do anything, Ricky Cobb. You'll do anything. And putting that up there as motivation, hey, did it work? Well, ultimately it did, man. So good for SIUE, baby, and good for Brian Baroni, and good for his dad, Tony.
All right, Dan, before you get out of here, I want you to take a look at this. We have never talked about The View together, but Whoopi Goldberg had a whopper, just an absolute whopper. Dan, I want you to look at it, and then we'll get your take on it.
When you come in and you say, oh, these are men, competing against women, you're assuming that the women are weak and just can't do anything except be here. Have you seen female athletes? They know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure what's going on or why this is an issue.
So there's Whoopi talking to Dylan Mulvaney, Dan, about biological males competing against women. And I guess her argument is just, well, women are tough, so therefore it's okay for biological males to compete.
It's the dumbest argument I've heard yet. Every woman, including my wife, who was a All-American, knew that once she got to 6th, 7th grade, it was over. She could not compete with the boys anymore. Now, this is a woman that in 4th grade led the team in rushing and touchdowns in tackle football. This is a woman that was the best baseball player on the team, but once they got to 7th grade, it was over. And she became an All-American in softball. This is the dumbest, most ill-informed argument. This says nothing about women's ability to compete. Women compete against women, period. That's it. I don't, and they're strong and they're tough and they fought for years and years and years. I've always said this, Ricky. I probably said it on your show. I've always said I have no problem. I'm very inclusive, Ricky. Women that are transitioning to men and men that are transitioning to women, let them play, but play against the men. See how you do. Because in most cases, including Leah Thomas, who famously swam against Riley Gaines, Leah Thomas couldn't compete for crap against the men. So if you think it's an evil playing field, or even playing field like Whoopi Goldberg does, you're just stupid. And I'm not surprised Whoopi Goldberg's stupid. Dylan Devaney, I discount anything that says. I don't care what that says. It doesn't matter to me what that says. But Whoopi Goldberg is a national figure, and she's just stupid. She didn't take the time to do any research. She did what she and the idiots on The View, the faces of anal warts, do, which is just talk. Just talk. And you know what? I discard stupidity. I always have. I always will. And when I think you're just a moron, I can't talk badly and disrespect you enough. And that was incredibly stupid. It wasn't irresponsible because that's what those idiots do. Who cares about their response? They have no responsibility to anything other than, I suppose, to keep their shows alive. But that was as stupid as anything that I've ever heard, as ill-informed as anything I've ever heard. But again, I'm not surprised by the faces of anal warts coming in with something like that.
I did not have anal warts on my bingo card today, Dan.
Yeah.
Tell us what you really think, Dockage. Look, if you're going to come on this show, Dan, we're going to need you to come with some takes. You can't just fence sit every time you come on this program. So think about that between now and next week. We love you and we appreciate you, buddy. Always a pleasure.
I'll never mail it in for you, my friend. I'll always bring the goods. Appreciate you having me on, buddy. Have a great day. See ya.
That's it. He is Dan Dockage, out of the gate throwing 99-mile-an-hour fastballs here on a Tuesday morning. And I don't want to lose anything when I go to the bullpen. So let me now bring in the flamethrower from Nashville, Tennessee. I speak, of course, of the international streaming star he is, Ronnie T-Shirts. And Ronnie, a lot of basketball there that we were talking about with Dan, but let's start with Whoopi, your favorite person. Still can't get it through her head why transgender male to female transitions are not an equitable playing field in an athletic competition. Is it that hard? Is it really, truly that hard? Or are they just being obstinate? I'm going to ask you the question that you asked me. Does she really believe that? Is she that dumb? Or is she just saying it in order to virtue signal and appease her tribe?
You know, I have a hard time believing that she's truly that dumb, because if what she's saying is what she like really believes, and that's kind of her, just that's her authentic take, then my God, she's dumb, Ricky. Like maybe the dumbest person ever. So it's fun. It's fun to say she's dumb, but I don't think she's dumb. I think they're just all brainwashed, and they just have. What do they say? If you say a lie enough times, you end up believing it. I think they've just lied to themselves for so long and for so often, and so it's just so repetitive, their lies, that I think they actually believe it now. I just find it super hard to believe that she's actually that dumb, but I don't know. Maybe she is. I just can't believe she's that dumb. I think she's just rewired her brain to come off as looking dumb, because I don't know. I don't know if it's because they're getting paid so much, Ricky, or it's because they hate the other side so much, but they've clearly rewired their brain just to autopilot talk that way.
Well, I mean, they've got Dylan Mulvaney on during Women's History Month, for starters, and Dylan Mulvaney's talking during that interview about how it's almost 3 years that she's been a woman, but this is the expert on the topic. And Whoopi's also saying, well, you don't know what it's like to be a woman unless you've been a woman. But at the same time, she's talking to somebody who's a grown adult who has been a woman, for less than 3 years. Ron, what do NCAA tournament time is always exciting. You're more of a fan of college sports than I am. Are you starting to get your juice right now for,
I'm really glad,
some people say it's the most wonderful time of the year,
I'm really glad you brought this up, because you and I haven't talked at all, off the air about this. And I've figured it out, Ricky. I don't like college basketball anymore, right? Like I just don't. I don't watch it anymore. But I have found myself in the last few days watching it, and it kind of, I guess I've always known this, but I've really been able to nail it down. You know what I'm a big fan of? I am a big fan of elimination. I've been watching a lot of these smaller conference championships games, and they are awesome, man. Like to watch these games knowing that what they're fighting for and how excited one of the teams is going to be, I am all in. So I'm just a big fan of elimination, Ricky.
It's good to know that the self-professed guy who has pooped 2 times a day his entire life is a fan of elimination. Who would figure, Ron? I had no idea
where you were going with that. That's 40, so good.
This man has pooped 42,000 times in his life by his own reckoning. I want everybody to know that. That is what happens. If you miss this program, you might miss a moment like that, such as from yesterday. Look, I agree with you. Stakes matter. The reason that you get excited about golf 4 times a year is because you know what the stakes are of those tournaments. It's not the Buick Classic brought to you by Dodge, presented by Kia. It's the fucking Masters, right? Or the U.S. Open, and you know what the stakes are. And so that's the same reason that the NBA only becomes compelling to me to the extent that it can anymore is during the playoffs. Because I'm telling you right now, I don't care who's playing. If you tell me on a Wednesday night that the Phoenix Suns have rolled into Denver, I don't think either one of those teams playing an 82-game schedule is all that fucking worried about it. It's the people that have paid to be there in some cases that probably actually care more. So stakes matter. And so one by one, dreams are going to get crushed between now and the championship game. And Not that that's the fun part. The fun part is
no.
when
The fun
dream
part's
gets
the other
extended
part.
a little
Listen,
longer.
dude, I watched
Yeah.
Wofford.
The fun part
I watched,
is to dream the impossible dream.
Yeah, I watched Wofford Furman last night. Like, come on, dude. Do you really think I'm going to watch Wofford and Furman play college basketball? I don't care at all about it, except I wanted to see who was going to win because I enjoy watching the reactions afterwards. I mean, I'm one of those guys that after any championship game, like I stick around and I watch the celebration because I like watching that raw human reaction to winning.
How much wagering are you going to do?
I'm only going to
During the course of
wager
this.
if it looks like it's just maybe some of the more obvious games where Duke is playing I don't know, High Point or something like that. I'm saving my money to bet on baseball again this year. I've got my little I bet against.
I still
the
can't
worst
figure
team.
out how that works.
Because I have no
Can't
emotion.
even calculate slugging percentage.
I don't.
If you had a gun
I have
to your head,
no emotion. I just
and yet
look at
somehow
data
you win
and stats.
gambling
Yeah, I just
on
look at
baseball.
data and stats. I have no emotion. I don't have a favorite team. So I don't. It's just all looking at stats.
Ron, don't shoot the messenger here, but I'm being told in my ear that Jared is calling bullshit on your baseball betting. The baseball betting. Everybody finds it very suspicious.
All right. Well, he can ride with me this year.
Oh, there you go. Teach the young man something.
Yeah.
Hey, Ron, let's empty the NBA bag here real quickly. Kevin Love, who is suddenly becoming a media personality here. I don't know if this is orchestrated. Yeah, I'm not sure if this is orchestrated on his point. He's trying to position himself as the next social media guy, but take a look at this. He's weighing in on Stephen A. LeBron. Stephen A. tweeting a few days ago, I didn't want to have to address this. I wouldn't have either had it not gone viral. Now I have no choice. That's Stephen A. after the LeBron confrontation had occurred the previous night. Kevin Love saying, you have no choice? LOL. Because it went viral? LOL. You didn't want to have to? LOL. You wouldn't have? LOL. Stephen A. needing to call his doctor because his erection had lasted for more than 4 hours, Ron. There's nothing that Stephen A. likes better than being in the middle of it. Is there? I think Kevin Love is calling Stephen A. out because we all know better. It's why
Stephen A. and LeBron are cut from the same cloth. They love the spotlight. It's their favorite. It's their oxygen. As I said the other day, their oxygen.
These two. Yeah, they're great dance partners for one another. Let's keep each other in the news all the time. Well, Ron, here's one for you. Moving to the NFL. Did you see this? The Dallas Cowboys just locked up their long snapper, Trent Sieg, 3 years, $4.5 million. And the thing that people are talking about is $3.1 million guaranteed. So if something happens to this young man and he can no longer snap, he's still going to be good for $3.1 million. And this doesn't even make him the highest paid long snapper in the NFL, by the way, either. So these guys do get paid. It's obviously very important. But I want you to take a look at this, Ronnie. This is Trent Sieg given snapping drills when he was coming out of Colorado State University in 2018.
All right, number 68, Trent Sieg, Colorado State University, perfect laces drill. Snap
Perfect laces drill, Ron, is what this
3
is.
points. Here you go, snap number 2.
We got the snapping guru guy here.
Here you go.
Wearing the straw hat.
1/8 of a turn, 3 points.
Ooh, 1/8 of a
Snap
turn.
number 4.
1/8 of a turn.
3 points. Next snap.
Look at that.
Well,
Ron, can you
look like
imagine
1/8 of a
as
turn,
he's doing
3
this,
points.
this kid out of Colorado State, that those snapping drills have now made him a millionaire.
I'm just curious how Jerry Jones can justify this. Do you have any idea, Ricky?
Maybe we should have a press conference. Is producer Tim handy? We could invite in the assembled media here. I don't know if Jerry is going to take questions today or not. I suppose that I could ask him.
Jerry, I just want to know, how do you justify spending that much money for a guy that doesn't even have to hit anybody, because you're not allowed to get hit as a long snapper?
Well, thank you for your question. First and foremost, look, football is a precision game. And when you're snapping the ball for your kicker, you cannot have the laces move. I saw Ace Ventura: Pet Detective years ago, and I told my sons getting the right snap and getting the right hold is it's absolutely critical.
We all know that Tony fumbled that very infamous snap on that kick many years ago. So, Mike, last question, if you will, sir. Did you analyze Trent's hands? Did you feel his hands for any softness? How soft are your long snapper's hands?
I remember once many years ago, my daddy and I were walking along the estate, and he said, "Consuela, come over here." Consuela was, of course, our nanny and our maid, and he said, I want you to touch her hands. And I touched Consuela's hands, and they were calloused and hard from the manual labor that she did for the Jones family. And I remember after she walked away, Daddy looked at me, and Daddy said, "Consuela would be a terrible snapper."
Is it true, Jerry, that manicures will be given once a week?
No, we can't afford that due to Dak Prescott's contract. And that will conclude. And I will also say, again, for everyone to remember that not every day will be easy. It's not all sunshine and glory holes. Dallas Cowboys.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. That is it for me. They should put Jimmy Johnson in the Hall of Fame twice. And I don't mean as a coach and as an announcer. He needs to be in there twice as a coach just for the Herculean feat of dragging Jerry Jones' carcass to Canton with him. Because we all know that Jimmy's the only reason that Jerry has any championships. And yeah, I know that Barry Switzer got one. But guess what? That was Jimmy's too. That team was so fucking good that Barry couldn't miss getting one himself. Is that situation. It's so ridiculous to me that Jerry Jones got to the Pro Football Hall of Fame years before Jimmy Johnson. Who do we think did what with the Dallas Cowboys organization back in the 1990s? Ron, potato wedges are back at KFC. And no, I'm not going to bring Jerry Jones back to discuss this, but are you excited for some potato wedges? Look at those old favorites. Nothing like rolling into KFC for some cold potato wedges. I haven't had a hot potato wedge since the fucking 1980s, Ron.
I'll tell you what, man. Lori and I went out to dinner, I don't know, Sunday night, and I had fish and chips. And I don't know why restaurants think that they can get away with giving you kind of cold French fries. And I think people,
Listen,
like, I'm one of the few. I feel like I'm one of the. I feel like I'm one of the few people. Get an
executive order for hot fries.
Call it out. Like I said, excuse me. I said, I hate to be that guy, but these French fries, they're not hot. I go, I'd like more I'd like fresh French fries. Like, so I feel like the public needs to.
And he said, all right, Karen, would you like to talk to the manager too about the French fries, Karen?
Yeah. So anyways, Kentucky.
My daughter sent back 2 sets of French fries this weekend at White Castle.
Well,
second time she was a little awkward, so she sent her sister to take them up.
Well,
but yes, 2 times return fries at White Castle.
Anyway,
that's when you get the That's when you got to look for the booger in your fries. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, we've all eaten
It's,
boogers.
you know,
What you eat
pick
boogers.
your spots.
Yeah, I know I eat boogers. KFC potato wedges, Ricky, when they're hot, dude.
On the rare occasion that they're hot.
Dude. So
Listen,
what do they do?
KFC,
don't
never
they dip
fresh. I'm from Kentucky, and all I can say to KFC is do better. I can't get excited about anything that you put on your menu because you motherfuckers are rated 3.9 on fucking DoorDash and Uber Eats everywhere in America for a reason. That's what I say, Ron.
Am I correct?
Do a little better if you're going to put the K in your name.
Am I correct that those wedges, don't they dip them in the same batter that they fry the chicken in, and that's why they're so glorious?
I don't know if the Colonel would reveal those details, Ron. He was pretty secretive back in the day. Ronnie, the Eagles are going to the White House. Probably not being served potato wedges there, but who knows? President Trump likes his fast food. We do know that. This is a change from the first Trump administration when we had the Philly special team refuse the invite and ended up nobody went. This time they are saying that they're honored and accept the invitation, and I think that is good. As I've said, regardless of who the president is, I like to see the teams go and at least respect the office.
Coach T, are you kidding me? DK Metcalf on one side, GP on the other, Muth work in the middle, and I might need to throw my hat in the ring. If you're looking for a guy, I might still have a couple throws in me.
There is Ben Roethlisberger letting Mike Tomlin know that the Steelers need a quarterback. He might be their guy. Ben Roethlisberger at 43 years of age. I have to believe that Ben Roethlisberger is just funning with us. But wouldn't that be something? Ronnie, we do have some real quarterback news that has happened. Armando Salguero yesterday on this program saying that he thought that Seattle might be the landing spot for Sam Darnold when I asked him, and guess what? Not long after we went off the air, we found out correct. Armando Salguero, the great one himself, Sam Darnold to the Seattle Seahawks in excess of $100 million. So Sam is going to get his financial reward as expected from the fine regular season that he had last year. Ron, what do you think? Sam Darnold going to the Emerald City.
It's going to be interesting because, a lot of people thought that he did good because of the coach that he had up in Minnesota. So it'll be interesting to see how he does there, especially coming off those last two games. And again, regular season, it's okay, but if you can't produce when it counts, are you worth the money? I guess the Seahawks fans will find out.
We are going to find out. There it is. Look at him. Oh, just see it in photoshopped into that uniform. Looks like a 9-loss season to me, Ron. It doesn't inspire confidence. I just took one look at Seahawks Darnold, and it doesn't feel I don't feel as confident in it as Vikings Darnold for some reason. That is, of course, isn't that your Ohio State guy there that it's going to be his favorite toy?
Jackson Smith and Jigba. Yep. Did you notice something about Big Ben? That face looked like he might have been taking the same shot that I take. He looked thin.
Well, maybe that's why. Maybe he feels like he's turned the clock back.
Yeah, maybe.
Like a Ronnie T-shirts. All right, Ronnie, here we go, buddy. Just when I thought that we could put this to bed,
Jets.
Justin Fields.
Jets.
Justin Fields to the Jets is the word. $40 million, $30 million guaranteed. $30 million guaranteed. To Justin Fields. He went 4-2 with the Steelers last year before Russell Wilson came back from injury and Mike Tomlin handed things over to Russell Wilson. He looks like a game manager to me, Ron. In all seriousness, what do you see for Justin Fields going forward with this opportunity he has in New York?
I think that if he can make it through this first season, that he gets an opportunity to do the next season, I think he's going to be pretty good. He just has not, he's never had the same offensive coordinator for 2 years in a row his entire time in the pros. I watched this dude at Ohio State. He is legit. Now, his top wide receiver for the Jets is going to be somebody that he's super comfortable with, Garrett Wilson. Garrett and Justin played for Ohio State at the same time. So if he can make it through this first season, I think the second season you're going to see he's a pretty good quarterback. But again, we will see. It's not like I'm just this Ohio State fanboy that had this, oh, this guy's from Ohio State, so I love him. He was awesome when he was at Ohio State. Like, so I saw what a good he was a good quarterback. So I just want to see him get the same offensive coordinator 2 years in a row. See what happens.
Well, stability is not underrated, that's for sure. And Danny Dimes, as the great Dan Dockich was referring to early in the show, Daniel Jones signing a 1-year, $14 million deal with the Indianapolis Colts. Listen, mamas, raise your boys to grow up to be NFL quarterbacks, I think is the lesson here. If Justin Fields is getting $30 million guaranteed and Daniel Jones is signing a 1-year, $14 million deal,
Darnold,
it's like, man, if you can make it to
guaranteed.
the NFL and just stand in front of a mirror and steam it up, somebody's going to pay you millions of dollars.
I saw that
in this league.
So Daniel Jones is making more than Anthony Richardson, like by a lot this year. So it's going to be interesting to see who's.
I don't know what comes out of that mess, because Anthony Richardson, like, his arm he ought to have to register that arm with the government. I mean,
same with Jamarcus Russell. Same with Jamarcus Russell.
That guy has an unbelievable arm. However, yeah, I mean, he doesn't know what to do with it. And you look at his stats last year, his completion percentage was abysmal. Yep. I mean, just abysmal in an era where even mediocre guys are, north of 60% completion percentage. Richardson was terrible in that regard. I think Daniel Jones has a pretty good chance to win that quarterback competition if it is, in fact, an open competition. And I don't think they're paying him $14 million to come in and just, hand him a clipboard and it be as simple as that. Anthony Richardson's going to have to show something to be the week 1 quarterback in Indianapolis, and I don't think he's going to do it. I'm going to predict right now that Daniel Jones starts the year as their quarterback. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This is a show by the people, for the people, and you, my friends, are my people. And I'd like to thank some specific people. Kid is here, DWG, Kyle Warren, and Dan Connolly, all calling me out for getting it wrong. Kelsey Mitchell holds the scoring record still in NCAA women's basketball for the most points through 2 seasons of a college career. I told you yesterday it was Caitlin Clark. Y'all called me out in the comments. Keep me honest. We always intend to get it right on this show, and if we don't get it right the first time, by God, with your help, we'll get it right sooner or later.
Hey, OutKick fans on YouTube, if you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and make your way over to OutKick.com where you can watch the full episode.